Hi, Alex. Hi, Bentley.
Hello.
Hi, Marc-Antoine. Hi, Bentley.
How's everyone doing?
Good. It's been a while. Mhm.
Yeah. How about you, Alex? Oh, I can't hear you. Can you hear Mark? Okay. It's
No,
not just,
I could earlier, but now it seems to be.
Testing.
there
Ah,
you go.
yes.
Test. Okay, that
Still a
was
little
really
faint,
weird.
but
Yeah, it is. It is on the
Huh.
low side, but it's. Oh,
Huh. So confused.
hey, Dale.
Oh,
Oh, yeah, I think
well,
even though you unmuted, I'm not sure I hear you,
I think it worked.
unless it's me.
hey, Joe.
Uh, so still,
There we
uh,
go, Dale.
oh, okay, thanks.
Oh, it's about a minute after. I don't know if anyone has any topics or want to give an update on their system or what they've been up to. I have no update, so that's my update. I'm done. Next.
Um, I will give a kind of report on what's been happening on our side. So unless others want to jump in, but I can.
I can go
Okay,
later.
you can go later. So the discourse graph crowd has been organizing a conference for a kind of cross tool protocol and data model for sharing discourse graph type information, but basically science information. We had a meeting in person, a conference about a month and a half ago now. Well, on 6th, no, more than that, 6th June, 6th June. And we kind of converted the model. We have some basic demos that we still need to make videos about. Um, there's a lot of enthusiasm from the people who are there to share this thing. I invite you all to look at the MIRA Science site. There's some stuff that is not linked from the site because it's still a bit early, but basically we have MIRA Science, MIRA, no, not Miracle, just MIRA, mira.ttl.jsonld. Schema should go somewhere. You need the trailing slash. Um, so there's description of the schema. And one of the persons involved, Jonathan of, what's his name again? He's working on putting all these as at proto lexicons. So we can have a description of the lexicon in, we can have little semantic claims going around at proto and make that one way to share claim information on the net. So this is happening with a lot of other people. There's a group called Habitat who's working on that too, on the at proto side. So there's a lot of things coming together there. So I encourage everybody to have a look. And there's a join the organization if you're interested. There's a kind of express interest in the organization, but they really want to people active. So that's, I can go into more details, but I just wanted to announce this is happening. And I'm very excited about the fact that we're using AppProto as one of the transport mechanisms.
I was gonna ask, you said there was like a agreement on this was it the schema maybe? Is that different from the discourse graph? Like
It has a lot in common with the discourse graph schema, but it does add a few types because we're one group that was represented there that is not in ours is funders. So there's things about making a request for an experiment and saying, we're interested in this result. Like if you look at the
I'm looking at the diagram, but you can't. Can you zoom in? I don't know if I can even. I can zoom in on the schema diagram.
Yes, you can, absolutely. There's a great explainer that is not online yet, and I need to put it online, but I should show it. Click on schema, and there's another version of the diagram that's more zoomable. Silly that you can't zoom in because
click on schema. Oh, I see. Okay.
Yes,
Oh,
there's
yeah.
a good
Okay.
old. But basically, what we have is the notion that forget node schema, that's the abstract, but we have claim, evidence. The main idea that's unique to discourse graph and MIRA is the notion that you have evidence, which is a claim with associated data. And you're saying, okay, it comes from this experiment, which is, and then which was explained in a source document. And then we have many kinds of relations, but that's not very. Problem is this mixes model and metamodel in this diagram, so it's a bit obscure, and there's stuff taken from other stuff. What's really important is the notion of is the explainer anywhere back? Because it
I
really
see question and claim. See, this is it kind of like an
Do one of
IBIS
you two
form?
mind sharing your screen just so we can
let me actually
walk us through it?
let me find the good version of this. Give me a second. That will be more useful.
Sounds good.
And CD schema git checkout. Where's the schema explainer? Okay. This and in Safari. Okay, sorry, give me a second. This is not yet integrated to the site. This is kind of future on the site. Let me share screen. Okay. The result is in the PDF, it's a graph. So this is kind of the core of the schema. So you have a question, claim addresses the question, evidence supports or opposes the claim, but it's grounded in the study, which follows a protocol, and you have request for, you want something to be proven, so you request a study that will prove or disprove that claim, that will address that claim. So, and then there's examples, here's a question, and what is the 3D structure of DNA? What is the claim is DNA forms a triple helix, and the claim are also known as hypothesis, and it addresses a question. And then you have a specific observation, which is the evidence, which has often, this particular figure from this particular article, blah, blah, blah. And it points to an activity, which is from Prov O. That's not ours. Source document is just basically a document. That's a schema. That's from schema.org. That's from Prov O. So we're trying to reuse some stuff. A study is anything that produces evidence and grounds this, and then the method. So this is and request is, hey, I'd like somebody to do this, to work on this. So that's the core. We're going to add stuff to this. We're going to enrich this. We've started, actually, right now I'm working on the governance process so that we don't go crazy in all directions, but we add stuff that's needed. One thing we need, the first thing we'll add is endorsements. And then we'll probably look at claim relationship between claims other than support oppose, such as the basically claim operators,
And
combination, and or that kind of stuff. Yes, lattice operators in my mind. So that's what's happening.
Mm.
And as I said, this is explained in the MIRA turtle. And one thing that is important is that this is based on each relation is materialized. I have something I've created, which is in discourse graph base, of course not even used, but this has a notion of materialized schema that allows, oh, come on. This is very frame-ish. So you can say this is a relation diff and this is a relation instance. And this is basically made as materialized thing, but because there's punning we could use, I'm using punning, we can simply state this and it materializes the equivalent statement. Statements are auto-dematerialized, if you will, in RDF terms. I don't know if that's clear. Basically, I can create a reified statement here, and there's something called punning in all that allows me. That means this implies the underlying triple that can then be used. So all statements are automatically, like not automatically reified, that would be too nice, but automatically you give them reified and they're automatically unreified.
So it's like a more convenient way to write it.
Yep. You don't have to treat the reified and the non-reified statements separately. But that's my little playing with RDF in a way that works for me. But it does mean we agree that part of MIRA is the need to be able to point at relationships to, for example, endorse them. Say, yes, I agree with that relationship. I agree that this, for example, this evidence does oppose this claim. And you can have people saying how much, like there's somebody doing something very close to very Bayesian, one of the players in the MIRA ecosystem. Oh, well, you met Matisse last time, right? Last time I invited Matisse. So Matisse was there, and he will use the endorsements to do his own Bayesian computations. So I should find the demo of what Joel is working on, but I'll try to find it and let you go around at your stuff while I'm finding it. What are your news? Or do you have questions first, maybe?
Marc-Antoine, could I just get can you just summarize your group's, summarize your group and the purpose and, what you're actually aiming for? Like,
oh, sorry, very, very, very legit. So, okay, there's two scales of groups. There's the MIRA group, which includes the discourse graph group, but discourse graph is one of the key actors, along with there's a few other key actors. Let me get the name. John of Block Science, not Block Science, sorry, Block Science is one of the key actors, but I keep forgetting the other one. But anyway, Jonathan Starr is one of the other key actors. He's the one pushing a lot for at Proto. What we're trying to do is make science basically micro publications for science. We have already the nanopub standard, but we're trying to make it a bit more grounded in the practice of what is really the smallest unit of science that can be published. And being able to make those statements about this is evidence for a claim and making that into a small unit of publication that's smaller than a paper, so that you can get feedback on a faster feedback loop than the one that comes from paper publications. So that's kind of the long-term goal, and maybe a more inclusive metrics than the old paper-based metrics, which are a bit heavy. So basically, we're trying to create a better pipeline for a faster feedback loop in science. That's the aim of the MIRA group. The MIRA group includes people who do tooling, such as, for example, notebooks. Like there are people implicated in what's one of the Quarto, are they're looking at this and like, can we have MIRA annotation of science notebooks so that when you publish your notebook, it contains the MIRA ontology pointers and can be become part of the MIRA ecosystem and metrics and whatever very easily. So they are one of the group of players we have in this ecosystem. This is the goal.
And that's interesting. And so have you got engagement from academia? So like, how do you expect to pull those, the people who are going to produce the evidence, people who are going to work on the science? Where's the
perfectly. Sorry, I'm just looking for something. Meanwhile, MIRA summary, MIRA next steps. I'm trying to find the demos I want to point you to. Discourse graphs as a subgroup. What we do is we provide basically tooling for scientists who want to be more structured in the way they structure their own day-to-day practice. So basically, we allow them to have notebooks for which have these basic ideas of evidence and blah, 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 like make the evidence very explicit in their research to remind themselves of, we need to check this and we need to do that experiment and blah, blah, blah. And it's they found it's really good for onboarding new students on a lab. They have a better idea of, this is the kind of research program we have in this lab, and this is what needs to be done in this lab. So we have a kind of ongoing, very small, but very real community of people using discourse graphs as a way to do their thing internally. And now we're acting on making this shareable so that people can exchange evidence across labs. And basically, MIRA is about making this into global sharing as opposed to lab sharing. I don't know if it answers your question. How will we make this viral is something part of the MIRA discussion. Like, how will we make this viral? But there's definitely intent to have a more to make this something that will somehow get into the practice of science, building science. Does that answer your question? Not sure.
Yeah, I could see that'd be very useful. Interesting.
I have a question. You mentioned that if you put in a reified statement, then it automatically gets unreified. So is that based on AI, or is there an example of how that would work?
Oh no, that's just the 1 second. I just found the demo and I really want to show it to you. Almost. Workshops. Oh, graphs iOS stick. Oh God, okay. Sorry, it took me a while. The unreification is not AI at all. It's just okay, so this is a workshop, so you can create your own workshop. Your research published as a, no, I don't want to create a workshop, sorry, wrong button. View the public graph. So these are example of evidence bundles, but you can look at recenter. No, I want to see the overlay, bundle level, overlay. Okay, so these are bundles, and okay, so this is a question, and it's related to these claims, and the claim is related to this evidence. So this is a kind of graph view of each of these things, and those are all at proto records, interestingly. So this view that you see here at graphs.ios.tech is totally from at proto, and with some IPFS, CID, whatever. I mean, they're working on this. And each of these, in theory, I should be able to view it granular. I don't know that Schelling segregation model. How do I go from this to having a view centered on this? I don't know the demo well enough, but I'm just trying to show this idea that we're able, people are doing these visualizations. This is vibe coded a lot, I'm aware, and have people are building on this. This is John's work at SciOS. I was saying, who's the other big actor in the MIRA ecosystem is the SciOS people.
So you put in a thesis and it turns it into or I guess you put in a hypothesis and it turns it into a general model.
Well, you
Normally,
have to do it yourself, right? Like you break it down into the pieces.
both exist. We have done extractors. We have what we do at Discourse Graph is mostly ground up, but we also have worked on extractors. So you provide a PDF and then we'll try to extract the claims. Actually, on Discourse Graph, extractor, no, extract was what's the magic? Extract nodes. Oh, extract nodes. Yeah. And so you upload a PDF and it will find, it will get, click to choose a file. Let me get my own stuff. Travel. Let me go to Trumpbox. My own article. Versus, where is it? Data edit planning. Oh no, it's not there. Sorry, finding papers. No, this one, not this one. IJKI, thank you. 25. Yeah, that one. Research question, claim, question. There's no pattern. And there. And then we should get.
Oh, what is
this
a
is
pattern?
I'm trying to remember. I don't remember. It's something that was added recently in the discourse graph ontology, and it's not in the MIRA ontology.
Oh.
This is by the way, that article finally got published. This is, I'll just give you the URL. So you have it. This is my paper about democracy and collective intelligence. If you're interested, I was waiting to make that public because, but, oh, come on. Now I've lost that.
Oh, so this is public now, or
Yeah, this
like
is
if I
public now.
post it in the Discord?
It's absolutely fine. Yes, so these are my claims. Here's evidence. So this is what it extracted. Here's the question. So this is all extracted from my paper. In theory, copy to clipboard, and I should be able to, it pastes as source quote section, this claim candidate, these are claim candidate and blah, blah, blah. And you could, in theory, paste that directly in Rome, which is what we use it within discourse graph. This is the discourse graph extractor. There's other MIRA extractors, but this is the discourse graph extractor. But we're trying to make it an ecosystem so people can come up with their own extractor and add to the discourse graph global views and and then it would show up here, and then we could have this. So there's a lot happening in that space. That's what I wanted to say. I hope that's all helpful. I'll add this link so you have.
Seems pretty
And
cool.
I think that the idea of using @proto as the underlying protocol is actually brilliant and important. Hi, Kaya. Been a while. So, more questions?
I have some questions. It looks like something we should collaborate in. There's lots of converging ideas. I see you did something like my project, but you are using an AI to extract the information. I don't extract them. I only consolidate in the same data structure because
I want to be very clear that when you say you, it has to be collective you. I've
yes,
been working on the schema, like the extractor is the work of someone else, and the
yes,
visualization is the work of someone else, and
yes, yes, yes.
it's
I when I say
we want it to be a very ecosystemic thing.
when
I'm
I
not happy.
say
Yeah,
I should say specifically about the data structure itself, the core of the data structure, not even all of the data structure, RDF, uh, the the graphs themselves, everything like more like 90 something plus percent of my code is thanks to lots of I don't even know how they did it, but it's like magic for me. But the your project looks like something that I would do myself if I I wanted to integrate AIs to extract the information. I want something almost absolutely deterministic because I don't like the Bayesian. We had this talk in the Discord channels. I don't like the statistical, the probabilistical, the uh, opinion based uh, analysis that we do. You seems to be making something more like what was his name? Matt something. He had that idea about making scientific papers, but with a score for the
Mathis
scientists.
Mathis is part of the group, so his influence is there. I totally support Mathis's work, and I understand, but where Okay, I'm not happy about the AI extraction personally because I don't like AI. And on the other hand, as a basis, like what is important is that both the decomposition of narrative claims into more analytical claims. And this is, for me, that's what's important because that's towards canonicality. If we want canonical claims, we want to get people used to being more analytical in the way they build their claims. And if they use AI to have a first pass, not my favorite thing, but it's a means to an end. What is important is that we provide both the schema and the infrastructure and the social infrastructure to encourage people to iterate on this and to make the claim more and more and more precise and analytical. That I believe strongly in. That said, once you have perfectly analytical claims, some of those claims are about an underlying causal graph, which is amenable to Bayesian analysis. Now, Matisse is looking at the Bayesian analysis of belief, like how convincing is that evidence for that claim? And this is not the same as the Bayesian underlying Bayesian causal graph. I think it has value because we're trying to ascertain, like I don't think there's an algorithmic deterministic way to know that this is good or bad evidence. And here I'm a Feyerabendian, Feyerabend knowledge is finally a social consensus. And we need to record and map the social consensus and dissensus and what are the contentious claims and be able to express that. And getting people to express their understanding of the importance of a given evidence in a Bayesian formalism is a way to map out a discrepancy of belief, which for me needs to be mapped out so that you can explore the social belief space around, is this convincing evidence for this claim? Does that make sense?
Yes, this is exactly my worry about the statistical side of AI's opinions, claims, proofs, everything else. There's an interesting project called CYC. They have Kike.
That's ancient.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
ancient.
I believe they are the only ones who try to make a deterministic reasoner about everything to make a real logical AI. I've been studying this last month about interpolators, transformers, and they are all statistical black boxes of matrices, transformations of every word with basically probable definitions of words, and we can't have certainty of the definitions and the words and relationships of each word. They are they're not even
Full agreement. From what you say, full agreement. But see, why do I believe strongly in the value of psych, for example? Not because being deterministic, it's more true, but because being deterministic, I can, in theory, reason about it when it's wrong. I can say, oh, here are multiple rules in conflicts, multiple heuristics in conflict about what's the right rule here, and reason about those rules. It enables a level of metacognition that is totally impossible with generative AI and statistical techniques. And being able to reason about it is absolutely essential in my worldview. And fact of life, right now, a lot of reasonings come from statistical generative AI. That's a disaster. And we need to be able to transform these black box reasonings into white box reasonings and to say, okay, what is a plausible reason to go from A to B? Like the black box gave us B from A. What could be a plausible reason so that so we can argue about it and make counter arguments and this and that. The fact that some people will use a black box to go from A to B is a fact of life now. And we need to be able to, if people can use a white box instead, all the better. But if they don't, the reality is we'll use, and maybe another black box, say,
We
here's
have
a
to
plausible
survive.
reasoning chain from A to B. And then we can argue about it and say, no, that reasoning chain, maybe another one could, but we need to be able to talk about those reasoning chains because this is how we don't lose agency on our own cognition. And I think that's essential to what humanity is about. So,
Yes.
but the statistics are there. The statistics are dangerous, not enough if you follow them blindly. But as a tool to help people make their reasoning explicit, they're actually quite good. Like if that's what you get, like you can get the stochastic parrot to tell you what's the answer to this and what would be the reason for that. And then you can comment, I don't believe in that reason. Give me a better reason. And you can iterate and try to think, what about why are the reasons this might not be true? If you're disciplined, and this is where patterns come in. I mean, I said I don't know how they use the word pattern. I know how I use the word pattern. Like metacognitive patterns, a catalog of metacognitive patterns is extremely important because this is how you can say, okay, what's missing from this description? And this is, so no, I'm with you. Death to
Yes.
black boxes. And on the other hand, they're here. So how can we embed their output into a real reasoning network? We have to.
There are two things we have to do. The first is how to make the statistical AIs work together in a similar way to what we are doing here. We want them to collectively reason about something to become more than they are. And we also need to create a better communication media to allow us and AIs to be more precise, more specific, granular, and have some kind of hypertext to make one word mean a whole lot of other things, which is like metacognition, the theoretical basis of internet itself. But we have to make them more efficient because we are in the age of information and we have to go to the age of wisdom, which starts with the filter of trash, basically, but we don't know what is trash. The craziest ideas may be the actual truth of anything, and we have to do something like a Hegelian negative argumentation style debate, which means that we have to know the path of um, every reason of everything, both for and against any idea, any information, any statement, any definition of a word of a statement, and we have to make it recursive with logical paths. This is basically what I'm doing because I don't know, I'm too perfectionist. I don't like the way we communication even, but the AIs can, instead of interpolating a set of texts in a question to reach an answer, we can have uh, a question be validated through a kike or what I'm doing, which is a kind of kike, but my own style. I don't know if it will work. And we can then have what an interpolation does, but with the definitions of each word clearly defined and the paths of each line of reasoning described in the recursive path to that answer. And this would allow us to investigate if the theories that reached that answer were correct or not, because we can criticize each statement of each path of each line of reasoning of each critic of each part of each information of everything. It's it's kind of big, but we don't have to reprocess anything after we reach a conclusion, if which can be dynamic, and we can use it to revalidate every next repetitive use of that same logic. So this is my idea to improve what Kike did, but they are doing for 30 years.
Psych, psych.
Psych, okay.
Yeah, CYC we said. What does that stand for?
It's encyclopedia, but only the Kike. And Kike.
Insight.
Yeah,
Insight?
CYC. It was a project by Doug Linnett originally, who's dead now, but some of the original team continued the project. But if you look for Psych Doug Linnett, you'll find it.
I think this is tying in.
They're the only project that I believe can surpass the average human statistical AI, because we're training AI based on the above average human, but it can't be 100% logic, and it can't surpass humans the way AIs are doing now, even if they look like they are surpassing, but they're just fast and can reach every information, but they are not actually smart or superior to humans.
But we have to be clear that, again, it doesn't guarantee, it guarantees better, well-formed reasoning, but it doesn't guarantee correct reasoning. But it guarantees the possibility to question reasoning, as you point out, and that's really what's important. The one thing that's also important to me is, you say we can question every word, and I think I agree with that, because most claims are ambiguous and imprecise at the outset, and that's fine. The reaching precision is an iterative asymptotic process, but we have to allow imprecise input because otherwise we're blocking input. But that's another story.
We use it to have dictionaries to allow people to know exactly what words mean. But since we don't use dictionaries anymore, or at least the words are being corrupted into
but some of
something else by narratives and everything else, or people are forgetting, are not using in their daily lives words that they use it to use, and
But you
everything
can't
else.
stop the evolution of language either, right?
Yeah,
New meanings appear, and they usually accrete on existing words. And the dictionary is basically codifying past usage, and that's fine, and it needs to be done. But we also need to accrete new meanings as they appear.
Yes, grammar is basically semantic, how do I say, code. It's just an equation about meanings of things. Words are just symbols. Definitions are just interpretations of anything. We can actually make AIs much more, how do I say, explicit, if we have a defined dictionary, a defined semantics, a defined basically everything we use to communicate. There's a area of study about it that we can codify. Even in my something I think is funny for me is that philosophy is the study of the correct way to think in a way. And with philosophy itself, we could have AIs smarter than humans because humans don't usually think philosophically. We don't use the metacognition, even if we can use it. And this is kind of cool to have it because we can make them learn about moral, ethics, symbiosis, integration, and everything else much better than humans if they are trained correctly with LLM to metacognitive and critics and everything else. But we have to use philosophy and semantics and grammar and dictionaries and everything in implicitly, explicitly, because without it, the machine can't calculate correctly. I believe this is the main problem we have today.
Hmm.
Okay.
As far as semantics go, semantics are inherently ambiguous. That's what makes them useful. They simplify interactions by leaving out information. So whenever we have a statement, what we have to do is, so we're trying to make a decision. We gather as much information as we can, and we have to decide as part of making that decision, do we have enough clarity on this, or is there ambiguity? We have to take stock of our assumptions, the not only the assumptions that people relied on when they put forth those statements that we're borrowing, but also the assumptions about how we integrate those statements together and describe what's going to happen when we make this decision. We evaluate what we predict is going to happen with all of our options. We say, okay, based on what I'm assuming about what these semantics are saying, I I think this option is the way to go because I think this is going to happen here. And if we did something else, something worse would happen. But we have to do that whenever we make a decision. And that's why we can't just rely on AI to make all of our decisions for us. Not even necessarily because the AI doesn't get all the semantics, but because the AI doesn't necessarily have our motivations about what outcomes we are and aren't willing to accept and what does and doesn't constitute an assumption.
This is a problem with semantics, actually, and this is a problem with human evolution. We are not made to be perfect, we are made to survive. Semantics help us accelerate urgent informations, which is why we are not precise, we are fast to communicate, but this is not ideal for shaping thoughts with precision, and it doesn't allow us to integrate too much information inside the text without it becoming a whole book. We have multiple paragraphs to inform the relations about each word and each idea from different dimensions, basically. So to totally describe what we are referring to in a debate, we need to have a precise, explicit information about everything, the correct way to think about the things. It's philosophy, and machines can't process deterministically without this. And AIs don't even care about any of this. They are used to uncertainty because they need to use unprecise semantics about the average human, not even the best humans, specialists or logic or arguments from humans is basically the average or above average human opinion, and they use it to interpolate everything.
I have something to say to that, but I realize Well, like Joel said, you had news about your project. We have 10 minutes left in theory. I don't know if Dale or Alex or David or Bentley. Bentley said he had nothing else, but maybe we should just see if there's other topics quickly. Otherwise, I can respond to what Kaio said, but I think others should have a chance. I talked a lot.
Thank you. Yeah, I will go first and will go quickly. I've been working on a partially vibe coded app that I'm calling the Reasoning Ontology Playground, where basically you can click. There's like a couple different ontologies and a couple examples per ontology, or at least that's the goal, and you can kind of click through to visualize. I'm just gonna let's see. Well, we'll let everybody go around maybe, and I can demo if there's time. Otherwise, I'll post to the Discord about it. But I did that. I've been working on it because I have felt that it's been kind of annoying trying to make comparisons to ameliorate from other like IBIS and argument map basic versus like a more complex version.
I'm
Things like
definitely
that.
curious about seeing this working.
I'll popcorn to Dale then.
I've been basically I found that stepping away from the computer and just mapping out, trying to model, visualize how someone's going to actually construct a map has been useful, and I'm just constantly coming across situations and kind of circumstances that I have to cater for in nodal maps, and finding that it's tricky. Lots just coming across all this. Well, I'm sure everyone here has all those kind of situations where, okay, this doesn't work so well, and how to let it move forward from there. So, like for example, like initially I visualized dealing with binary kind of claims, but it's so limiting. This is one example I think we've talked about previously, but yeah, so it's like, the next step is basically to have multiple options for a particular claim. So for example, what's the best energy source? You're going to have a list of different kind of energy sources, and then you kind of, to actually make that binary becomes a very lengthy and arduous kind of task. So you really want to kind of compress that. So yeah, I'm just been going through the different kind of, pulling out examples and working through them. It's been very enlightening, but it's also concerning.
Are you
finding
willing
things
to
that I'm
share
just going.
those?
I'm pen and paper. I've been working on, so it's just like I've got nothing really to show online. I just find I slow down when I
Feel
try to
free
do
to
it
do
all
a picture if
online.
you want.
We are only prototypes. We
No,
don't
I
have-
mean I can set something. I'd like to think. I think I say this every month though. I like to think that I'll have an example, a demo of things moving along.
A lot of times when I write things down on the paper, it ends up being a big, not readable to anybody else but me. And even me, I look back at it and I'm like, I don't know what I was doing here. So I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I'm not saying that your thing is like that, but when people are trying to encourage you to share, I'm just imagining what it would be like if I was sharing some of the stuff I scribbled down on a napkin or whatever.
Well, I'm sure I've been thinking about bringing up some of these examples on Discord, because there's a few, like in general, I think in the argument maps as the like the IBIS kind of model. I think most people are like kind of in argument mapping are following that kind of model. But it's like, yeah, it's just like the limitations where I'm sure anyone involved in that area are going to come across. So, for example, you know, how well the claim is defined. You know, as soon as you add ambiguity into it, and so then I'm thinking, okay, so how do you encourage people to make sure, obviously AI is probably the way to go here. But yeah, basically user interface wise, you're right, Marc-Antoine. What's
My answer to that, and it kind of addresses what Kaya was saying earlier, is materialized distinctions. So if you have something that's ambiguous, have somebody say, oh, I think it could mean this or that, and then kind of do a fork, git fork of this node into here's this precise meaning and that more, or rather more precise meaning, because it's never fully precise. But here is one more precise meaning and one more precise meaning, which are kind of disjoint. Make the distinction explicit and then ask people, maybe the original speaker, which one do you mean? Or maybe another one. Maybe I didn't capture what you said. And sometimes even just reinterpret. I read this as, is that what you're saying? And if not, explain how it's different and make the distinction material and explicit. And I think that one thing that's very wrong with, not wrong, but one mistake we all make is we don't want to forget history. So we build our conversation graphs by addition, accretion, and so on. But you need refactoring and pruning. Yes, keep the history like in a Git history, but make sure when you do a refactor, when you make a distinction, when you do a merge, there's fork and merge, you realize, oh, these concepts are actually the same, or actually more to the point, they have a common core that can be identified. And the point of divergence can be a sub-distinction. But the common core is more important than what's distinct. And it's more useful to first understand the common core. So that becomes a refactored view that is more understandable than a view that preserves all history on the view. I think wanting to preserve all history on the main view is a classic mistake. If you allow refactorings, that mean I may move something, I may fork something, I may merge something, and that means if I want to have access to the history of how this came about, I have to go to another view that explains the lineage of this node. But saying this node is, because it's been introduced at a certain point, it shouldn't move, I think that's a mistake. We need gardening. Like think of wikis. Wikis are gardened. So a discourse graph or a discourse or concept map, whatever, it should be gardened. And gardening means pruning. Over.
Yeah, I definitely have exactly been following the principle that it will all be captured, and I have also basically I'm working on when I'm saying I'm looking at modeling an argument, it is literally how do I want to build the tools so the user can come along and basically as quickly as possible form like you said, merge, split, backdoor, all the different aspects when you're actually constructing. That's what I think is a big learning. It's very iterative. Like you got to come up with ways to capture people's thinking. And I personally
thinking is iterative.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, I have considered the issue of where branching can be problematic. So for example, I've always just thought, okay, different users, as soon as they want to change, they can branch off and basically, work on their own model. But then of course that's got its own complications. But yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at. I don't want to present myself as having answers.
I had the same problem and I separated words from the definitions. So whatever language I'm using, I'm always pointing to the definitions and the words. They are not related to the debate at all. And only in the map you can see the words in that language. But if I had a debate in Russian, Italian, English, and Portuguese, I would have the same definitions of words debating, and I wouldn't have the words. The words are only translations of their symbols, so they are only representations of the things used in the debate. And if we use the definitions, we can actually unify multiple debates into less nodes. The pruning, we can have different debates integrating into one into another through the definitions and their relations of as debates. We can have over time the debates will stop repeating, so we don't have to prune. We could simply make them consolidating the same the parts that are redundant. They can simply be consolidated to integrate multiple debates in the same informations. But this depends on I mean, I did a structure that allows it, and without it, I believe I would need infinite memory to put every text of every language, of every debate, of everything, repeat over and over and over. But this problem of precision and how to represent everything, it's easier to use what nature made in our brains, which works, and it's what allows us to be metacognitive in intelligence. Is better to define exactly how our brains make it and make similar structures and methodologies into coding to allow a machine, a reasoner like I.js, Psych, and other reasoners to actually reach deterministic validations and new things instead of unprecise semantic statistical probabilities of black boxes in AIs and everything else. I'm only against the uncertainty that AIs are good at, but they are not the best. But yeah, this is actually the kind of problem of problem that I had to solve to start my project, and it's complicated. I have to tell you that from here on is not going to get any better.
Alex?
Oh, there is a quick answer here. Regardless of the presence of AI, if you're trying to define something, the definition has to be resolved in the context of the task at hand. Why do you want to know? I need a boat, a dog, a bird, a fruit. Okay, what do you want it to do? You have to define what the function is based on the goal, your goal, and the environment in which the goal is to be accomplished. So no matter what other features the system has, the human who's asking the question should be, they need to be responsible for paying attention to that. And it really helps if the humans who compiled all the information that's going into the system are also paying attention to the context in which they're gathering that. Because otherwise, it's going to be kind of difficult for someone to figure out if this particular boat is going to meet their needs or not.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think I think also it's nice if if an application, if you're talking about a very specific thing, an application can look at other similar arguments and other similar, that might have slightly different contexts and suggest it's very likely that an argument to something with a very, a claim with like a slightly different context, it's very, very likely that the same argument will apply just as well. So I think, yeah, that's why I was kind of interested in some point kind of looking into kind of how do I link all these specific debates together so that, you know, I can be suggesting it can know like, okay, this is a similar argument to this, and that means that probably the argument against that is going to have the same. It can kind of like match up all these arguments together, but that's really pretty far. I haven't. That's just my long-term vision.
That sounds.
I can tell you what I've been working on a little bit. I recently did a redesign of the general layout of my all the pages and stuff of my of Argyrist and how it's organized. So that was pretty major, and I'm trying to get more into like in fact, you know, now that I viewing it on a larger screen, I realized that I didn't account for. Well, good thing nobody's using this. There's stuff I need to fix. But yeah, the way I originally kind of viewed it, the two use cases are like having public figures basically debate, and then having a lot of other people that their followers help them, and also so it's kind of collaborative, but like uses kind of like social networks to have people all interested in the same, you know, public figures and what they have to say, and helping them and seeing kind of, I don't know, like the kind of debate you see on TV all the time, but if it was good and organized and you could yeah. So ultimately, like I want to get to the point where I think it would be good, you know, to have public figures or whatever doing this, but that's not really how I want to start it. The other use case is having groups of people debating things privately, and that I think is a lot more accessible for people, and that's where I'd want to start. But I think I've been kind of going the other direction. I need to kind of like focus on you know, how people will use this in a private setting, because I don't think a lot of people are going to want to just like debate publicly unless you're like an actual influencer. I'm not really ready for that anyway at this point. So I need to first get it in front of users in a private way, and the private debating privately is just, it's not set up for that right now very well. I mean, a little bit, but I need to really fix that out, and think about things like I need to define maybe like groups. People, you're going to want to have a group and say, this is, you're invited to this group, and all these, that gets kind of complicated. And then other things I did, well, I did recently change the terminology from debates to trees in my app, just because I thought it might lower the bar of how more likely to work on a tree with a friend than debating is a bit aggressive. And yeah, and then I'll say working with cursor, I don't know, sometimes it gets away from me a bit, and I'm reviewing all the code, and then all of a sudden it says, okay, you've reviewed. I must have clicked on something that said I'm not reviewing anymore. Like I skip, and I'm like,
approve, auto approve.
I realized that I haven't, that I pressed something that said I accept all the changes for the 20 files or something, and then I think, you know what, I and I just sometimes I might do a whole diff on the file, but then other times I just feel like, you know what, I'll just take it. So, but it makes me a little nervous. But that's my update. What are you gonna say, Marc-Antoine?
First, for cursor, that's what is for, right? Make sure you use a commit at every step so that you can walk them back.
Yeah.
Seriously. I need to get better at using AI. I still hate doing it. I use AI as a question machine. Like, what about, is there a way I've missed of doing something? But I tend to want to code myself. I'm slower as a result. But, now, one thing that you said, when you said private, do you mean private solo or private group?
Well,
Because, yeah,
private group.
good. Because I honestly think that thinking is primarily a group activity, and solo is very limiting. I understand that people don't want to always start with thinking in public. That's reasonable to me. But thinking in groups, I think, imposes a discipline that you don't have when you think solo. Personally, yeah, that's a personal belief. I see Alex is with me. Yes. Yeah, there's another side question by Kaio. Just quickly, I said phone screen. The idea is at some point, if you're looking at a complex structure, and you're comparing two complex structures and the differences between two complex structures, it doesn't fit on a screen. And if you're doing advanced cognitive work, like I know I was with UX people, and can people intuitively learn to use this? It's like nobody expects people to fly a 747 without training. And advanced tools require training. It's normal. And advanced cognitive manipulation tools are going to be demanding. Of course, we want to make them as easy as possible. But there's some expectations about intuitiveness that I think are actually unreasonable for the more advanced cognitive operations. Now, of course, as much as we can make intuitive and easy and work on a small screen, wonderful, because people will use their phone. It's a fact, for input at least. But at some point, there's some more delicate work that requires, how are these two complex structures different? And I think this requires visual real estate. Over.
Dave, can I ask, like, how close are you to finishing? Because last time I looked, you were really close.
Well, I mean, I think I'm pretty close to having a thing that I can get in front of users. There's also, there's certain things I would like to fix. I don't know. Yeah, it's hard to say when it'll be like good enough to actually like try to get real people testing it, strangers or whatever. And right now I don't know. I mean, I could just fix a few more things and then just say I won't worry about certain things that like you can't reply to you can't like or I don't know. There's certain things that you can't do now that I was thinking that would
like,
be like a beta version would have it, but I'm like, yeah, maybe it's fine if you can't do certain things. There's definitely things I definitely want to fix up, but yeah, I am kind of starting to think like it's all flexible. I mean, it's a marker that I just have to make at some point and determine, like, I think it's good enough to let people try to use it. But I think, yeah, I want to make it a little bit better for private groups, because that's what I would like. That's how I imagine people actually using it first off, rather than trying to get, you know, public figures using it that have followers. I'd like to just like get in front of smaller groups and get that. I think that's kind of critical. Like, once I can, say, hey, the Johns Hopkins debate team can use it if they want, or something like that, and uh, and they can just debate privately in a way that makes sense, and is easy to
So
have a debate.
wouldn't that be,
That's what I want to focus on.
because you're a developer, right? Like,
Yeah.
And there's developers in this group. But I was just, I'll make this an open question, but like, wouldn't that be part of the process where it's like you got to start getting that feedback, because things are going to pop up. People are going to say, "Oh, wish I could do this," and I'm just
That's
thinking,
true. Yeah, I mean, there are certain things that I was thinking, like, oh, I thought that this was something that I'm definitely need to have done before I get it out in front of people. But now I'm
I
starting to
see.
think, like, a lot of those things, you could use most use cases without it, without those certain things. And yeah, maybe it's better to try to get it out a little bit earlier, and maybe I can get it out in a couple months.
And you can
Right.
I'm
also
also
do like smaller phases of like people trying it. Like, I don't know if you're envisioning like a huge release, really post everywhere, and then you like try and
No, I'm not. But even
okay,
even a
well,
small release, I'm like, I want it to be. I don't know. Yeah, but it's
uh,
true. It's like some of these, like, these calls that I'm like, or these restrictions I'm making on myself. Like, I could really, people can use it just how it is. It's just certain things that are difficult. I want to before, but I don't have to.
like the promotion of our platforms is going to be, it's a big job in itself. It's how
Yeah.
many platforms have we seen that have, if you go looking in history, platforms that have like been pretty decent and really haven't made gained traction. So it's kind of like, to me, it's like that's a big challenge right there. We probably, maybe in some future meeting, should also just keep brainstorming that to make sure that we get traction. Make sure that there is, how do we do that for those? I've got kind of like a concept in my head how I was going to do it, um, but everyone's got their own kind of audience, and I would think, Dave, like, it's going to be, it's a general user kind of platform, right? It's like it's something, any debate can be had by any people, so it's going to be
Yeah. My
everyone.
my mine is kind of like more targeted at a not less advanced user, or someone who's not trying to
Mm,
do like actual argument, like being exact about the argument mapping, but just a little more organized than Reddit. And there's, I mean, there's also, yeah, there's certain features that I think would be really nice, but I can always just release them after I get more people. 'Cause I can, yeah, I can work on, I can continue to work on it after people are using it. That's true. But,
so
and
I'm happy to.
another thing is that I well, I'm kind of in the process of being laid off, so that frees up more time. But I'm also going to be a father soon, so that does the
Oh,
opposite
it's
with the
gone.
time.
Oh shit. I had
So we'll
to
see. We'll see.
I many years ago when my daughter was born, I was in the middle of doing a small business, and it just
Oh yeah.
yeah, I was fantasizing I could do both at the same time. So good luck, but
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking I'm gonna try to like get this to a place where I feel like it's in a good stopping point or some place, and then once it's in a good stopping point, that'll be better to have on my resume, So try to get the chunk of this done first, and then before I just try to get another job immediately.
You can afford it. By the way,
Yeah.
we're beyond time, and while we're on personal things, I just want to convey something. Some of you may know Jack Park. I'm just trying to say that Jack Park is on his last legs, and probably expect an obituary soonish. So
Oh well,
I don't
thank
know
you
if
for
you want
sharing
me to
that.
say that, but yeah,
it's horrible.
it's tough.
Yeah.
It's
Sorry to hear that.
yeah. Jack taught me a lot, and a lot of my ideas about how to do this have been heavily influenced by by him and by his contributions. I think it's a loss to the field. Voilà.
Any more topics before we close down for this month?
Sorry, that was a bit of a bombshell.
Yeah.
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 We have to
I wa-
know when somebody as important as him is going to change the world in a new way.
All right. Well, thanks
When I
everyone.
started my project, he was the first person I talked to, and it was a video, a debate. Mark and they had this debate that I was, oh my God, they are they think exactly what I think, and I think we should work together or something. And he was basically the reason why I got here. And for me at least, he is part of the crypto and the my project here. So well, I hope I could make he could help me even more. But sometimes things go another way.
Yeah, and
So
and my decision to get the change the labeling from debates to trees, that was partially influenced by what he was saying. Um, but yeah, sorry to hear that. Yeah.
All right.
All of us,
Talk
sooner or
to
later.
yeah.
Okay.
okay.
It's
Yeah.
So only one more thing. You said here two unfolded graphs can't fit on a phone. Depends because you said before that if one person have an idea of a word and another have another idea of another word, we should have two nodes representing each definition, but I do believe they should be one single node. The converging characteristics of the definition should be a single node, and the diverging parts should be uh, explicitly defined so we can know what explicitly is the same and what belongs to each other definition. Basically,
I
two things you said before, but okay.
I I basically agree, except sometimes multiple meanings of the word have no significant overlap. It's a lattice, and sometimes the meat is empty.
Now the lattice is where we should have a dictionary, and this is the problem. We have to create a explicit dictionary, and people should use the definition they want or the standard definition. That should be a debate in itself. It should
Yes,
be logically valid, and it should be voted for the main definition or calculated based on the mindset and uses of each individual, because it's a democratic thing, is the use of the definition and the word. So we can calculate the standard definition and allow people to have their own opinions or choose another definition. We could automate the semantics in an explicit way this way.
I,
That
I'm I agree. There's an aspect that is sociological, like what definitions do people like, totally. And I'm also saying sometimes words have metaphorical meanings that are so removed from the original literal meaning that they might as well be considered as two words, and there's no common intersection, or only in a very such an abstract meaning that it's not useful by itself. Like there
yes,
are cases where the definitions are so far that it's just
something else entirely.
yeah,
Yeah, exactly. That's why I believe we should explicitly describe every characteristic of every
yes,
definition of every word for every
correct.
person, so we can know if I'm thinking about the same thing as you, or about the craziness somebody else is talking about, or what everybody else believes is a good definition for the word. So
Yep,
we
yep,
can
yep.
explicitly collectively define the words, and explicitly collective generate a RDF reasonable set of statements that can validate informations and everything explicit and logic.
Yep, absolutely.
Gonna be tough. It's gonna be a challenge. I have to head off.
I'm
Thanks
gonna head
for
out too. Maybe Joel,
Yeah.
Joel, maybe you can demo your thing next month.
yeah.
Yeah. I'll probably post in the Discord, but then also we can see if it works out.
Oh yeah, I'm curious about it.
Cool.
So am I.
Bye,
Ciao, ciao.
everyone.
All right. Bye.